Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I got to ask you guys out there, are you feeling a growing sense of anxiety over this year, over the year 2024? I know I am. I mean, this is something I thought it was going to go away. I thought maybe it was just me. I thought it was just nerves or whatever with the coming election. And yesterday I was going over X and Twitter. It's not one of my favorite social media platforms because of Elon Musk and Trump and all that stuff, and I just don't favor it. But I looked over X, and I'll have links right down below. I wanted to see what was trending, and I looked at the stuff that was trending. And I swear to God, my anxiety is just through the roof. And I actually counted down. There's four. I have 4 months of sanity left in America, left in this country. As I have 4 months left of life as I know it, before everything goes to hell. If Biden wins, if Donald Trump wins, I'm going to talk about that in a second. If Biden wins, can you imagine what's going to happen? I see Trumpers on X, on Quora, on these other places saying, do Biden supporters realize that we're armed and what's going to happen if Joe Biden, it's like putting out threats, real threats out there, and I'm like, oh my God, are they going to actually go around hunting down Joe Biden and Biden supporters? Because that's what they're actually threatening to do. Okay, now if Donald Trump wins, there's talk on X and other places that Trump is going to pick Vivek Ramaswamy for his vice president. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Let me ask you guys this. I got all the links. Everything I'm going to talk about, the links will be right down below. Everything I'm talking about is factual. The actual links right down below. This last weekend, Donald Trump talked to, I think it was a conservative Christian coalition or something like that. Let me ask you guys this. I'm a recovering addict. All right, 2 decades of my life, I was a hardcore addict, using heroin, cocaine every single day. I've been clean and sober for 17 years and 8 months 2 days ago. It was exactly 17 years and 8 months. Let me ask you guys this. If I cut, because it can be embarrassing, saying that I was a heroin junkie or a crackhead. But I do. You guys hear me say that every day, and there's an important reason why I say that. I can't forget my past, even though it's embarrassing. It's essential that I remember it. Now, what if I didn't? What if I just say, it's embarrassing. I'm a different guy. I've been clean and sober for 17 and a half years, man. I don't need to talk about that anymore. That's just, right? Just forget about it. Really, I'm a different person now. You know what would happen if I did that, right? If I just totally just push that out of my mind. Well, then I could have a drink, right? Seriously, because that's in the past. I'm a different person now. What would happen? You guys, I know damn well what would happen. I'd be dead by the end of this year. I have no doubt, 100%, swear on the Bible, I believe I would be dead and gone or in prison by the end of this year. All right? You cannot forget your past. You learn from it. Donald Trump, this last weekend, he talks about George Washington. I have the clip where he's actually saying this down below. He's talking about George Washington owning slaves. And he says, I don't think Donald Trump, the possible next president of our United States, denies that George Washington ever owned slaves. He says, I don't think he ever really owned slaves. Donald Trump says that. The possible president, I almost said presumptive, the possible president of the United States denies that George Washington, an essential part of our history. It's an ugly part, yes, just like my past of using. That was like 17 and a half years ago. That was a long time ago. Why do I need to remember it? It's important that I remember it so that I don't make the same mistake again. You see how important that is, that I remember that? Because if I don't, I will slip back into that. There's no doubt that I will if I don't remember that. So he's denying that George Washington ever owned slaves. There was over I'll put the links right down below. This is a fact. This is a stone cold fact. There was over 300 slaves on Mount Vernon. Washington himself owned over 130 slaves. He signed something to free them after his death, and then after Martha Washington, his wife, passed away, and they never got freed. I think only one slave actually ever was freed out of 300 slaves. So, it is a stone cold fact that the first president of our United States owned slaves. And here we have the next possible president of the United States covering that up. And here's where it gets even worse. Vivek Ramaswamy, George Trump are talking about getting rid of the Board of Education, the people that make up the curriculum for what we learn in schools, how I learned about slavery, how I learned about World War II, how I learned about the Holocaust and stuff like that, so we don't repeat it. So, I'm thinking, thank God I don't have kids. I'm actually to the point where I'm saying, thank God that I'm almost 60 years old. I only have 10 or 20 years left on this earth, or left in this country, because this country has gone freaking nuts. It almost seems like there's almost like two kinds of Trump supporters, or they act in two different ways. There's the ones I see every day, like my family, or a nurse I used to go to the clinic to see. This guy, he's my age. I ran into him the other day. And he's a Trump supporter. He's like, oh, did you turn conservative yet? Are you a Trump supporter yet? Like, did you drink the Kool-Aid yet? And these guys don't talk about the real nasty, ugly stuff, like getting rid of the ATF and getting rid of the ATF, getting rid of the FBI, and getting rid of the Board of Education. This is their plans for getting rid of the swamp, as they call it. What freaking swamp? This is like a fever dream. It's like some paranoid delusion. Yes, politicians and bureaucrats are it's like an essential evil. It's an essential part of our government. People get into government, they turn into politicians, they get caught up in the red tape, but this is just part of how the world works. It's not the swamp, it's not some evil entity that you have to get rid of, that you have to eliminate everything, just burn it all down. Okay, so there's a good chance, apparently, like on X, they're talking about this. Vivek and Ramaswamy are trending on Twitter. All right, so I got a couple links I'll put right down below. Vivek Ramaswamy compares Donald Trump to George Washington. He says, George Washington's sons died for their country and lost their land and all that, and just like Donald Trump. Are you freaking kidding me? There's a statue right here in Bristol of Nathan Hale. Okay, remember Nathan Hale? I regret that I only have one life to give for my country. And he was hanged as a spy by the British. He was 21 freaking years old. And he stood there in the gallows and said, I regret that I get goosebumps. That's a patriot. That's a freaking patriot, to get away from the king and to make America to 200 years ago. To compare Donald Trump, a guy with gold toilets and golf courses, a guy who's never swung a hammer in his life. I thought about this too. I was like, who I'm going to vote for? I'm not going to, between Joe Biden, I'm so angry that I'm stuck with these two choices again, between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I thought this. How about this? How about I'm going to vote for the guy. There's two criteria. I'll either vote for Biden or Trump. The guy that has swung a hammer and built something with his hands in his life. That's one criteria. Joe Biden. And the guy that's actually taken a punch and hit another man in the face, punched another man in the face. Doesn't matter if he won or lost the fight, but he was in a fist fight and punched another man in the face. Straight on, honest to God, not a bully thing, not a bunch of your frat brothers jumping on somebody, or jumping somebody, or whatever. Straight on street fight. And I would guess Joe Biden. Okay, so Vivek Ramaswamy, a link right down below. He's talking about getting rid of the ATF, and he's totally serious. He's like, the first thing Donald Trump, we're gonna do MAGA, we're gonna get rid of the ATF, the Board of Education, and the FBI. The FBI, the biggest police force in the United States. All of a sudden, the Republican Party has gone from the party of the police, of supporting the police, to the anti-police. The FBI, aren't these the guys that caught, like, Charles Manson, Al Capone, Timothy McVeigh, serial killers? They're the ones that profile serial killers. They're talking about getting rid of the FBI. So, I mean, serial killers they must be jumping in their they must be ecstatic. the ATF, Timothy McVeigh, and all that stuff. The Board of Education. I just talked about why we need the Board of Education. We have people like Donald Trump making up their own history because they don't like the fact. They want to paint America all red, white, and blue. Like we've never made a mistake. We've been the great shining hill. We are just the greatest country on the earth. God's gift to America, God's gift to the universe, and we never made a mistake. It's not how it is. It's a great thought, but it's not how it freaking is, and it's dangerous that we think that way. The prime example of me denying, I'm not proud of being a heroin addict. I'm not proud of being a freaking junkie. I'm not proud of being a freaking crack addict, smoking crack and stealing every day. You think I'm proud of that? It happened over almost 18 years ago. Should I forget about it? Can I forget about it? No, I can't. It's the most important thing in my life that I remember exactly who I was and the mistakes I made so I don't make them again. God help us. The links are down below. I don't see any way this is going to turn out good. If Biden wins, they're going to go insane. They're going to go insane, and they're saying they're going to go insane. And if Donald Trump wins, it's the end. It's the end, man. It's the end of America. Have a good Tuesday.